So imagine that you're climbing a mountain and you have a massive bag slung over your shoulder. And inside this bag are bricks. Now, these bricks represent the bad habits that you do. And with every bad habit that you do repeatedly, you're placing another brick into the bag. And these bad habits are the ones you know about. Doom scrolling, porn, poor eye contact, which you probably have, terrible posture, breaking promises to yourself that you were going to speak to that girl after class, or that group of guys that you think are cool but don't want to speak to because you're scared. These choices are actively weighing you down and pulling you down the mountain. And the worst part about it isn't even that. It's that we often don't realize how heavy the bag is getting. You know the story, you tell yourself that, okay, well, like 1 hour of doom scrolling isn't that bad, or okay, fine, I broke the promise to myself today, but tomorrow will be different, these things. And it's actively pulling you. These bad habits are pulling you away from the good ones. You could have a day full of good habits in them if you get rid of these bad ones. Like, for example, I'll share a pretty personal story. Throughout my 10th grade year, porn, it had me in a chokehold. I cannot tell you the amount of classes I was in where I just could not focus. It was really impossible because my mind was full of the disgusting images that I had watched the night before, even maybe the morning before. It was terrible. And it makes sense then why I was awkward, why I was nervous, a bit jittery, because the person that watches that stuff is lame, it's weird, it's just disgusting. So, of course I wasn't walking around, with a real pep in my step, because of course I wasn't. And why I'm so adamant about the fact that these bad habits are pulling you away from good ones is because they are a self-feeding cycle. The more you make a habit out of isolating yourself, the scarier it is to speak to people. The more you make a habit out of avoiding eye contact or trying to get away from conversations, the scarier actually interacting with your fellow humans is going to be when you have to. So by avoiding these things because we're scared, we end up worse off than if we had just done it to begin with. There's this Alex Hormozy quote. I may butcher it, but it basically goes that maintenance is a myth. You can't stay at your current level. Any organism is always either growing or dying. Now, take a guess. Somebody that does the bad habits we've been talking about, that doom scrolls, that watches porn, that has terrible eye contact, that has terrible posture. You think that person is growing or dying? And it can be metaphorical, but sometimes literal. If you know, you know. So, really, my point with all of this is that don't think that bad habits are okay. Just this once. Now, before I tell you how to actually solve this, I want to let you know that I have an entire guide about how to go from shy, timid, to charismatic, social, massive friend group in the description down below. It's called the Full Introvert's Guide to Making Connections, so check it out. Now, first off, what we want to be doing is incorporating small social wins into your existing daily routine. Because it's very hard to start new things completely on their own. It's hard. It's very windy outside right now, so the camera is shaking a bit. But stay with me on this. It's harder to start something new, like going to the martial arts gym for the first time, or joining that community call for the first time. So what we want to do is add these social wins into our existing routine. Let's say that you get coffee at a certain place every morning or every other morning. Then have a small chat with the barista. Just greet them. Ask them how their morning's been. Then the next time you see them, you do the same. You do it again and again. Let's say you go to the gym. Then as you enter in, you could greet the secretary. Or wait, no, gyms don't have secretaries. You know which one I'm talking about. The person that sits at the front to make sure that you're actually like a member of the gym. But yeah, you greet them, you maybe give them a fist bump, something I've been doing recently, which is it's a bit awkward, but it's actually pretty funny. I tell them some sort of random shower thought that I got, like, or some sort of fact that I found out recently. Like, for example, I found out recently that when Star Wars was released in like the 1970s, France was still executing people by guillotine, which is it's darkly comedic. Anyway, so you get what I'm trying to say. When you add these small social wins into your existing routine, it's a lot easier than trying to start them from scratch. So that's number one. Number two is that, let me check. Okay, number two is that we want to replace passive like isolation with some sort of active involvement. And by passive isolation, I mean the things like doom scrolling, like mindlessly playing games while you're listening to some podcast or gaming video on your headphones or your phone, whatever. So what we want to replace this with is just something small but active. Maybe you text a friend, you call them, have a voice chat, you join some group chat, or you talk on there. This can be anything. Like the other day, I had this massive group chat of all of my fellow classmates, and I just randomly sent a message saying, hey, what's an artist that you actually love, even though like objectively they're pretty dog? And it blew up. It was hilarious. And these are small things that you can do, really. And in my opinion, okay, I'm gonna be honest, I do think these are very, very minor fixes, and they're not gonna suddenly transform your life. But if you are in a point where you have this passive isolation, literally any social interaction, even be it online, is a step up, is an improvement. So don't dog on this. I know it's not the, peak, not what you're hoping for, but we need to start somewhere, okay? And there you go, right there. That is the reason why you can't just be confident. So if you need any other video topics, then tell me in the description down below. And I read all the comments, really. So, oh my goodness, I just realized we hit 1,000 subscribers. Absolutely incredible. So sick. All right, we're going to the top 10K next. So remember, take action, learn from failure. See ya.